The largest week for finance is now upon us, and this is going to be the week that we should be locked in, paying attention, and focused on what's happening, not only around price action, but also around the things that factor in to price action, either being very positive or negative. And those factors that we're actually focused on is what the Fed decides to do this week, on top of all the other financial events happening as well this week, which we will go over in this video. So let's first start off with crypto bubbles, just kind of looking at the overall markets, looking at the moves happening in the last hour, the daily, and even the weekly. So the daily right now, it's in the red. There's not a lot of green out there. Just some altcoins, dropping a little bit from some of their recent highs, because if we actually look at the daily, a lot of these altcoins have pumped up on the last 24 hours. Like, for example, HBAR is still up about almost 2%. It's not much, but some of these altcoins are up either 2 to 4 to 5+%, with some of the outliers being up like 10+%. If we look at the weekly, we're still looking pretty good on the weekly here. Again, some of these altcoins are up 10+%, some of them up 20+%, like Flare. But it's still kind of shallow gains here. Most of the gains are on the monthly, where you see HBAR up almost 100%, CFX up over 100%, Curve up 90+%, Link 40+%. I mean, just overall great gains here on the 1 month. But if we look at the list of coins right now, Bitcoin, 100 and almost 20K, it's sitting around 119K right now. Ethereum almost hit 3,900, which is exactly what we want to see. We want to see Ethereum get as close to that 4K region as possible. I'll talk about that here in a moment. And then XRP, up 2% today on the daily, still down about 6.5% on the weekly. Nothing too crazy there. If we look at SUI, Stellar, and HBAR, SUI, $4.30. This thing was up in a huge way in the last 24 hours recently. We'll talk about SUI's chart, because SUI actually does look really good here. XLM, not much gains at all, just 1% on the daily. HBAR, again, 2% on the daily, 2.5% on the weekly. Again, nothing too crazy there at all. So overall, nothing too crazy happened in the last 24 hours. Some altcoins are the outliers here. QNT was up about almost 7%, sitting around $130. We're just kind of consolidating still around that range. But for the most part, pretty boring day, pretty boring weekly candle close too. Nothing too crazy about it. This is what the actual market for crypto looks like. Market cap nearing that $4 trillion level. Fear and greed still around 67 within the greed region. Altcoin season 40 out of 100 roughly. And just taking a quick look across the board, Bitcoin's trading volume still around 50 billion. We're still fighting that resistance going back to roughly the beginning of January. This is where, that 120K region is going to be a challenge for us to actually break over. We could see it even here on just the week, on the monthly, sorry. We don't even need a TradingView chart to look at this, because again, just looking at it, we could see where all of that resistance is. Until we actually get that nice strong close over 120K, we're going to be just fighting resistance during this entire time. So, we consolidate probably for about a week or two. We might get some nice bearish price action this week, depending on what the Fed says, what they tell us. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But, the big focus is on the Fed this week. This is basically the Fed week. This is the big financial week that we need to, really be locked in. And I'll address that once we get to it. But even Ethereum, again, right now, Ethereum is the main focus. On the monthly, we are starting to break over those highs back from the 20th of the month. If we look at the yearly, we're getting close to those 2024 highs. This is what the all-time chart looks like. So we're starting to break over those nice highs from 2024, even the end of 2024. We really want to get a big break over 4K though, like $4,000, and it's technically like 4,100. We really want to see a major spike here on Ethereum. We want to see a lot of strength here on Ethereum as well. And we want to see a much larger breakout. When we get 4K plus on Ethereum and we really start to move towards that 5K region to target that 2021 all-time high, that's when we really will start to see major moves throughout the entire altcoin market. But XRP, again, on the 1 year and on the all-time chart, even on the 1 month, nothing too crazy here. We're starting to see that nice little uptrend start off of those lows. Just like I said, we need to make sure that we're maintaining those lows. We don't want to see a lower low here on XRP. We shouldn't break below $2.98. So definitely watch for those lows to hold up this week. Have stable coins on the sidelines for this week, by the way. For everyone out there that is watching, make sure that you have some stable coins on the sidelines for buying opportunities if we see them. And do not play with leverage this week as well, because this is where we really start to see major swings in the market. This is typically going to be a volatile week for crypto and for even traditional finance. But just like I said, SUI, so looking at the 1 year here on SUI, we are starting to challenge those highs from May. We're starting to kind of get that big break over them. Nothing too crazy just yet, but this is what we wanted to see with SUI. So far, it's been consolidating until we actually get a nice higher high here. So I'm watching this high to get really broken and get that nice impulsive move to about $6 on SUI. But so far, trading volume has been surging. We've been starting to see a lot of people focused on SUI now as well. The main thing that I'm actually looking at here is the token unlocks, because we do have an upcoming one that could definitely affect SUI. So I'm going to be watching SUI throughout this month, because again, we do get that unlock in August. Nothing too crazy, but maybe it has a nice little overreaction from retail. But the main thing here that I'm looking at is just a big break over these highs, because I don't really care about the token inflation. A lot of people say that the token inflation is a big problem on all of these altcoins, but I'm not really concerned about it. I think that it's not going to put a damper on price action much at all. And the main thing that I'm looking at here is just the structure of the chart, right? Bullish structure is what we want to see across the board. Higher highs, higher lows. That's all that really matters to me. So SUI right now, still in a very good spot. And I'm really focused on us just continuing to break over these highs and getting that big push to the highs back from December, which by the way is right around like $5.50. That breaking over these levels should put us on a path to that $6 target. With XLM, no major change at all here with XLM. I mean, the price action has been pretty, I would say it's been pretty boring, just like XRP, right? Ever since we got that nice impulse move back in like the middle of July, it's been pretty boring price action since. Nothing too crazy to really report on. With HBAR, with HBAR, we're now starting to get a big break to 30 cents. We just got that big break to 30 cents yesterday. This is what the 1 year chart looks like. We're now starting to peak over these highs from March and February of this year. That's what we want to see. And this should put us on a path to targeting these highs from the beginning of the year around like 40 cents. But as you guys can see, we are finding some resistance here. This week is going to be a big one to just kind of look at charts and reassess them. I will obviously keep the Discord updated on any major moves that we do see across the board here. But the craziest part about all of this is stocks, right? Because although this is a huge week for finance, which we'll go over here in a moment, the stock market just continued to rally throughout last week. Now, obviously, over the weekend, yes, stocks are paused. This week, upcoming, I'm watching to see if stocks are going to continue this rally or not. Today's open, right? Monday's open is going to be the big thing to watch, because if we open in a more bullish way than we did on, Monday wasn't extremely bullish. I shouldn't say Monday, but throughout the week, last week, we did get a strong impulse move on Wednesday. Wednesday this week, though, is the FOMC. If we're watching this week's FOMC meeting on a Wednesday and we see stocks rally just like we did back here last week, it would put us at about 6,500 almost. That's going to be extremely bullish for the S&P and for stocks. It's going to be very bullish for crypto as well. We should start to catch up to the S&P here soon across the board for crypto. Ethereum is already starting to lead the way here, so we're basically in phase 2. I'm watching stocks this week more than anything. And again, with this week being a very large week for finance, because again, the FOMC meeting is in 2 days, 15 hours. We do get the official decision on the 30th, which is Wednesday. Everyone's thinking that, we're going to get a rate cut. I don't think that we do. There's a 2.6% chance of a rate cut decision happening this month. I think that the main focus here is September, October, and December for 3 rate cuts to finish out the year. But if we do see a rate cut, it would be absolutely bullish for every single market, including stocks, including crypto, you name it. But on top of this, there's a lot more to look forward to other than the FOMC meeting too, because on Wednesday we get the rate cut decision, we get the press conference with Jerome Powell, but then Thursday we get the US GDP Q2 report as well. And then Friday, we get the non-farm payrolls as well. It's just a huge financial week. Like I said, we get major events, we get major press conferences, and we get reports as well during this week, which could impact the markets in a big way. And then on top of that, on Wednesday, we also get the White House releasing a report regarding the feasibility of a national crypto stockpile. Check it out.
According to the administration's crypto task force, that report will be a set of recommendations around potential regulation ahead, including the feasibility of a strategic national stockpile of crypto. According to the administration's
So if we get all of this happening around Wednesday, think about how crazy this week could essentially become, right? We get the stockpile report, we get all of these major events, including the FOMC rate decision, Powell's press conference, the GDP report. This could be one of the largest weeks around finance since the previous FOMC meeting. And by the way, going over the previous FOMC meetings and looking at how crypto performed after, out of the last 7 FOMC meetings, Bitcoin pumped 5 times, including the entire crypto market, regardless of the outcome. The average return during those pumps were 17.6%. If history repeats, Bitcoin could soon reach $140,000. Now, the question is, do we report on this after or before the FOMC meeting? Because we could easily pump into the FOMC meeting and then sell off during, or pump after and sell off into. Because again, typically, if we actually look at this, we could see some of these events. For an example, the last one was June 18th. We actually dropped into the FOMC meeting and then continued to sell off. And then after, we went crazy. That was a 26% push to the upside, though. If you don't care about the lower time frame, performance, then technically speaking, every single FOMC meeting, we've actually had a strong pump off of, except back in like 2024. I mean, listen, September, we had the first rate cut in September. I think November was the second one, and then December we also got one. In December, with the rate cut decision, we actually sold off 13% and then continued to rally again towards roughly the end of December into like the beginning of January. After that, we just had that major sell-off with the trade war, the tariffs, things like that. Now, if we're really looking at this, I do think that we pump regardless of what Jerome Powell does. I do think that we see a pause on rates, and then we see the rate cut happen in September. So August will most likely be pretty boring for at least like the first week. After that, we should start to see the market go pretty crazy. Now, I do think that $140,000 could definitely be the next target for Bitcoin. But first, I would like to see $130,000 be broken. And it kind of aligns with my idea of the S&P 500 because, just like I said, I do believe that 6960 is the main target for the S&P 500 next. I think that we just continue to rally to that, which is why that's been my focus for like the last couple weeks. But this rally will most likely continue throughout this week. We'll have volatility for sure. We'll have, sell-offs, and we'll have those major, pushes to the upside to hit resistance again. The main thing about Bitcoin throughout this week is I'm just looking for daily and 3 daily candle closes above 120K. That's really all I want to see on Bitcoin. That should confirm a much larger breakout across the board. With Ethereum, I'm mainly looking at just having those 3-day and daily candle closes above these major wicks. So like 4,100 would be the main focus here on Ethereum, but we are looking pretty good going into this FOMC meeting. Regardless of the decision, I don't think that it's going to put a damper on price action at all. The thing is that during these big financial weeks, the best thing that you can do is just simply do nothing. Have stablecoins on the sidelines if you want to buy your favorite altcoins if they do get a discount. Other than that, the best thing to do is just kind of, be patient, stay locked in, And just know that we are in phase 2. We still have a lot of time here for altcoins. So just be patient. Don't do nothing. I'll report on, what we see throughout this week. It should be a pretty crazy week for price action, regardless of the outcome. We should have some pretty crazy volatility as we typically do. But other than that, yeah, just simply do nothing. And yeah, just stay locked in on the overall outcome here, which is bullish price action will continue. I am definitely focused on stocks this week. I think I'm more focused on stocks than crypto just this week alone, just to kind of see the reaction. Because again, with stocks, we have been following stocks up until, this point. We still need to follow through with this major impulse move to the upside, which is why I've just been waiting for Bitcoin to really break above that 120K target, because we should move pretty quick from 120 to 130K, which will cause a rally across the board. But with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely will like, subscribe, turn notifications on, because I'm free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.